So, with a week to go to the start of the Premier League season, 8 players remain in my draft from the first time round. Who are the 3 newcomers coming in? Let's find out. Welcome to Friday Night Not Live, Episode 1, the final countdown. So 7 days to go till the big kick-off with Manchester United against Fulham at 8 o'clock next Friday evening. So we should be in full tinker mode now. Make sure those drafts are pretty much up to date with how you expect things to go. Not many friendlies left, probably 1 per club. We've got the Community Shield over the weekend. And then, as I say, 7 days' time, and we'll be getting straight into the nut of the season. So, coming up today, we're going to have a look through the fixture calendar. We're going to take a look through some points and value for money players. We're going to have a look through the current ownership on Cloud Fantasy Football. And I'm going to take a look at my second draft. So this is the fixture calendar from my transfer planner. For those that haven't seen this before, there's a couple of things to go through. You'll notice the top, we've got some fixture days in green, 1, 4, 15 and 20. Well, they're in green because they're single game days. And you'll remember from the Cloud scoring, every time there's a fixture, your highest scoring player in that day is going to score you double points. Sort of a permanent max captain, if you will. So these are quite important when you're setting up your team. So fixture day 1, a week today, Manchester United against Fulham. And then fixture day 4 is Leicester against Tottenham, a week on Monday, the first Monday night football game of the season. When you're setting up your teams for the kickoff, you're probably going to want a coverage of both of these games due to the max captain feature. The other thing to note, a lot of people have suggested that Haaland and Salah could be the best 2 players this season. No surprise there, really. It's good to note that on most of the days there at the start of the season, they're playing on separate fixture days. So you see that Liverpool visit Ipswich a week on Saturday, and then Manchester City visit Chelsea a week on Sunday. So if you've got Salah and Haaland, you've got an opportunity for both captains on that week. The following week, it's Saturday, Manchester City against Ipswich, and Sunday, Liverpool against Brentford. And then the following week, you've got Manchester City visiting West Ham, and Liverpool visiting Manchester United, again Saturday and Sunday. Then the following week, they both play at home on the Saturday. Liverpool against Nottingham Forest and Manchester City against Brentford. So if one of them does well, and you've got them both in your side, you're likely to get a decent score. Which then leads us to the Sunday, where there's less games. We've got the North London Derby, with Arsenal visiting Tottenham, and we have Wolves at home to Newcastle. So they definitely want at least 1 player from those clubs for your captain. Then the following Saturday, Liverpool host Bournemouth, and on the Sunday, Manchester City are playing, but this time they host Arsenal. So the other fixture that day is Brighton hosting Nottingham Forest. So you might want to look for a Brighton player there for your captaincy. And then the last weekend in September is also Liverpool and Manchester City are playing on the same day. Both away, Liverpool visit Wolves and Manchester City v Newcastle. But if one hauls, you're still going to have a good score, or you might have plenty of other players. There's 5 other fixtures on that Saturday. And then we look to the Sunday. You can see Aston Villa visit Ipswich and Tottenham visit Manchester United. And then we get to fixture day 15 here, which is Southampton hosting Bournemouth. Now, if you haven't got anybody for that game, there's a couple of options left open for you. You can either bring somebody in for coverage. You might have an injury, or you might see Bournemouth or Southampton start the season particularly well, and you want to bring in one of their players. Or the other option is you could skip it. You don't have to have a captain for every game. It just means you won't have the opportunity for double points. And then earlier this week, the TV fixtures for October were announced. So we said those that were moved for Sunday is Aston Villa hosting Manchester United and Brighton hosting Tottenham. On the second week, we have Arsenal visiting Bournemouth and Manchester City visiting Wolverhampton Wanderers. And then there's a first Friday night fixture, which is the last of the 4 single game days that have been announced so far. We have Leicester again hosting Nottingham Forest. And then on the weekend before Halloween, there's been a big split between Saturday and Sunday games. Quite a lot of the teams playing in Europe on the midweek previous have had their game shifted to the Sunday. So there's plenty of options there. You just need to be careful. If you use the transfer planner, you'll be able to plot your way through and see who you're going to have, where and when on which day. Okay, so let's move on. So then let's have a look at some points. And earlier in the week, we did have a look through some player stats compared to the previous year's Sky, and we noted there was an overall uptick of just under 4%, so 3.75% rise in scoring, and the bonuses were up by 31%. And as mentioned at the time, that's probably due to the extra tier, with Cloud having 3 tiers and Sky only having the 2. So this again is taken from the transfer planner. We've got 3 different tables here that I've laid out together. So on the left hand side, well, the top 25 players last year by total points. And you can see that the top 11, you wouldn't be able to make a team because it wouldn't be the correct formation. For a start, there wouldn't be a goalkeeper in there, and you'd have too many midfielders and strikers. So to actually create the best 11 from last year, you can see we've had the top 8 players, so Haaland, Palmer, Rodri, Foden, Watkins, Saliba, Salah and Saka. And then we've complemented those with 2 more defenders, so Ben White and Virgil van Dijk, and a goalkeeper, Jordan Pickford. And if you'd have been able to pick that team last year, they would have scored you 2,583 points without a single captaincy. Trouble was, it would have cost you £60 million and a bit. So you'd have been over 20% more than the budget you're allowed. And then the middle tab here, we've actually had a look at how many of those players were on the combined tier points list. And you can see that there's Rodri, Van Dijk, Romero, Pascal Gross, who you won't be able to pick this year because he's been moved on to Germany, Saliba, Rice, Bruno G, Pickford and Bruno Fernandes were all from the top 25 total points, and they were in the top combined tier points as well. So it goes to show that you'll get good value for certain players if they're tiering well in Cloud Fantasy Football. Then on the right hand side here, we've had a look at the actual best value players. So these are the players of points per million. And again, we've put together a side that you could have made Rodri, Saliba, Romero, Gross and Pickford would have gone in. Bruno G would have been the next midfielder. So then the next 5 to go into that side would have been Mitchell, Dunk, Anderson, Wissa and Foden. So one thing to note on the best players or the best point scorers, the team shape would have been 3-4-3. But on the best value, your team shape is 5-4-1. And that team would have scored 2,123 points, but that would have only set you back £42 million. So you'd have been nearly 20% under budget. So that goes to show you need to strike a balance with all fantasy games. Cloud is similar to that. You want the best scoring players, but obviously you can't fit them all in the team. And you want those sort of cheap enabler types that are going to help you fund everybody else. And the other thing as well, you can't have them all at the same time, and you might not want them all at the same time. There's going to be different people in form, have difficult or more easy fixtures, or have more or less fixtures at different times of the season. Thanks to the ever fantastic FF Stuff, you can now have a look on his website, and you can actually see some overall ownership by Cloud Fantasy managers. So no surprise to see at the top, we have Erling Haaland in just under 3/4 of the teams. I think that might even rise as we get towards the deadline, which is 7:15 next Friday. So coming in second here, we have Alexander Isak and Rodri just behind, and then also just over between 40 and 50%, we've got Cole Palmer, Mohamed Salah and William Saliba. In the 30% bracket, we've got Eze and Romero. In the 20s, we've got Daniel Munoz, Jared Branthwaite and Josko Gvardiol and Bukayo Saka. And then in the teens, we've got Watkins, Andre Onana, who looks to be Manchester United's highest picked player for the single game day. Lewis Dunk, Phil Foden, some question about whether he's going to start the first game. Anthony Gordon, Bruno G, Miles Pert Harris, who you ask? Well, me as well. And then Van Heck for Brighton, bringing up the 20th in this list. So the reason for Miles Pert Harris to be quite so high, he is the cheapest outfield player at £2 million. So I think quite a few people have built their team, managed to get a decent 10, and then think, I can't quite afford the 11th player, I'm going to put the cheapest one in. I dare say that Mr. Pert Harris is still going to be high up on the ownership next week. So what about those that have been dipping under the radar? Some of those lesser owned picks that people might be overlooking for one reason or another. So I've picked out 5 here in a variety of positions for us to have a look at. So Jordan Henderson, if only. Dean Henderson is currently only in 6% of teams selected. And if the rumours that Johnston might be on his way out of Crystal Palace, he might be nailed down for that position. Coming in at under £3 million could be very good value for the goalkeeper. Ben White, who we saw was in the team of the year from last year, currently sitting at only 7% of sides. Could the Arsenal double up be as productive again this year as it was at the end of last season? Jarrod Bowen, currently only 5% owned, another one that was at the top of the scoring charts last season. Are people overlooking the hammer? Looks like they've got some more firepower coming their way as well, so he could be assisting others and the likes of Fulkrug getting on the end of his deliveries. And if they're more attacking side, would he be doing better himself? Martin Odegaard, another one that was performing well for Arsenal last year. He's had the summer off while a lot of their other attacking talent have been away, the likes of Havertz and Saka and Martinelli. Could the Norwegian be one to bring into your teams for the start of the season? Underrated player. And on the right-hand side of the screen there, we've got Dom Solanke. Big rumours today that he's on for a £60 million move to Tottenham. And if he does get that move and he plays up front for them, he's bound to be scoring quite a few goals this season, you would think. So 5 there that are currently not highly owned, less than 7% all of them. See if any of those make their way into the higher echelons of the ownership by the time we kick off next week. So this is my second draft, and there's 8 players that remain from the first time round. At the back, we have Romero, Saliba and Dunk. In the middle, they're all still remaining. Rodri, Bruno G and Smith Rowe. And up front, Haaland and Salah remain, and the newcomer is Ollie Watkins. Now, there's a couple of reasons for this. Smith Rowe is moved to Fulham, so if he's in their starting lineup for their match next Friday, then he will be my perma-captain for that day, which means that I don't need to have Onana in goal, and I can downgrade to Henderson, as mentioned, if he takes that Palace shirt and he makes it his own, under £3 million for a starting goalkeeper of a decent club that played well at the end of last season, could be a no-brainer. So I moved Anderson away because I didn't really want the Palace double up in defence. So Branthwaite, another one that was popular at the end of last season, did well, performed well. Everton under Dyche, they're not going to give away too many chances, so there's a chance for clean sheet. And he did get on the end of some decent service last year to score the odd goal or two. So could be well rated. Again, 3 million, good value. And the beauty of that, it left me with enough money to upgrade Pascal Gross, who, as we said, has moved away, and in comes Ollie Watkins. And the reason I wanted Ollie Watkins in is due to that Ipswich game on the Sunday at the end of September. Now, there is a chance that that game could get moved, if according to the Champions League fixture days, but we can cross that bridge when we come to it. So you'll see here, we need the team ID, and for those that have asked for this, you can find it on the address bar of the TFF website, especially if you're using a telephone. Use the Chrome browser, it works perfectly fine on there, and you want the digits of the end on the address bar. So if you're registering now, it'll more than likely be a 5-figure starting with a 2 or a 3. And then you also need to make sure that on your TFF team that it's set to public, not to private. That way we can read the teams and you'll be added to the leaderboard. Last check that I did last night, we've now got over 250 confirmed teams with the right details, and still probably a good 50 or so that need to be chased up for making sure they're correct. How does my team fit into game week 1? Well, here we go. So on the first day, I'm going to have Smith Rowe. He's going to be my sort of max captain. On the Saturday, I have quite a few players playing now. Salah is playing away to Ipswich, so if he does well I can get his points, but I've got another 6 players playing that day, so I should be good to go. And then on the Sunday I have a couple of Manchester City players, Rodri and Haaland, and Henderson is playing on the early kickoff away to Brentford. And then on the Monday I have Romero, and he'll be my captain when Tottenham visit Leicester. So game weeks 2 and 3. So on the Saturday I have 9 players playing, so hopefully a decent chance of a good captaincy score that day. Then on the Sunday just the 2, Bruno G and Mo Salah. So whoever scores the most out of those will be my captain. Then on the Saturday I have again another 7 players playing, and then on that Sunday I've got 4. So again, Salah visiting Manchester United. He does like a trip to Old Trafford. Hopefully he can do well there again. If not, it'll be one of the other 3. And then game week 5 and 6. Now this is something Sky used to do. They used to have a game week 4 even though there was no matches if there was an international break. So their game weeks would go 1, 2, 3, 5 and 6. The Cloud one's going to run just straight through. If there's 2 games in a week, that'd just be 1 game week for us. But the transfer planet's still going to show 5 and 6, just in case there's a different game that goes into it somewhere along the line. So after the international break on 14th of September, again, I've got another 8 players playing that day, and then only 3 on the Sunday. So 2 in the North London derby and Bruno G's visit to Wolves. And then the following week, a 7 and 4 split. The 4 includes Manchester City against Arsenal, 3 of those. So Lewis Dunk might well be the best captain that day against Nottingham Forest. And then game week 7, which is the last in September. So again, I've got 9 players on the Saturday, only 2 on the Sunday. And that was one of the reasons why I wanted Ollie Watkins, as discussed, because Villa visit Ipswich, whereas Tottenham visit Manchester United. Then it gets to the first day that I haven't got a captain. At the minute, I'm not too fussed on Bournemouth against Southampton, but we will see how the land lies when we get further down the line towards the end of September. So it's the 7th game week. Thank you very much to everybody who's joined up on the Patreon for the transfer planner. We've also got the Discord going now. Quite a few people new to Discord, including me. So if you want to support the show, you can head over to patreon.com, Cloudy Sky Fantasy Football Show. We've got a couple of tiers on there. Basic tier, the Cumulus Supporter, which is just thanks for thanks for the content and thanks for doing the game. And then we've got the intermediate tier, the Stratus Navigator, which gives access to the transfer planner as well. And a few shout outs as well to creators that have been plugging the game for us. So James at Planet FPL, thanks very much. And we had Darren and Martin on the Manon podcast. Thanks both to you guys. Tom and his special guest Dan Cox on the Golden Goal. And then earlier this week, the Fantasy Football Hub Telegraph Fantasy Football show, which is well worth a watch for anybody that's playing this, because it will give you some tips on good Telegraph players and how to play their game with Fergie, Luke and Carl. So thank you very much. Go to cloudfantasyfootball.com and you'll see the two tabs, the sign up tab and the rules tab. So if you have a look on the rules, it tells you all about the scoring and captaincies and the fact that we don't have an overhaul, all of the rules on there. Then you click on the sign up page, and then we're just after your name, your team name, your email address, your Twitter handle if you have one. If you don't, just leave that blank. And then the important bit at the bottom there, the Telegraph Fantasy Football Team ID. So that's it for this week. Plans for content next week is Tuesday. We're going to have a Q&A. So anything you need to know about the game, the players, I'll put something out on Twitter and in the Patreon and the Discord. Send any questions, we're going to answer those. And then next Friday, the plan is to do a live stream, hopefully starting around about 6:45, when we get the team news. 75-minute embargo now for team news for the 8 o'clock kickoff. So that'll be after all of the FPL deadlines have finished. So live stream on this channel next Friday, 6:45 is the plan. And then we'll run through the cloud deadline, which is going to be 7:15 that day. And then we'll probably finish off about 7:30 so everybody can get ready to watch the first game. All right, thanks very much, everybody. If you've enjoyed what you've watched, leave us a like. And if you want to subscribe to the channel, please do. In the meantime, have a good weekend and we'll see you soon. Bye for now.